Hello.
Hi there.
How are you doing?
Pretty good. And yourself?
Not bad. I've been up half the night.
What
How
happened?
come?
We're watching the plane crash.
Oh,
Oh,
not much to see.
yeah, it
Well,
was pretty dark out there.
I just couldn't go back to sleep once I started watching. I was just watching. If that makes any kind of sense.
Yeah,
I got stuck watching.
yeah.
Kind of hard to see from the one video that came up last night as to who ran into whom or whatever. But it looks to me that the helicopter, I haven't looked for an hour or so, but it looks to me like the helicopter flew right in front of the aircraft.
Well, that's essentially what they're reporting is that the the American airline commercial flight was on its descent path, was on final into Ronald Reagan, and
International.
the you know the helicopter flew in front of it. And it now turns out they're now reporting, after all of the finger pointing and so forth and so on, that the problem was that the air traffic controllers were understaffed. They were having difficulty getting people into um, getting sufficient air traffic controllers on site. So there was nobody watching, apparently, from the air traffic controller point of view.
There was a little blurb that they had a recording. Something like, "Do you see thus and such?" And they said, "Yeah, we're going to pass behind them." So there was an air traffic controller that was communicating with the helicopter, but I don't know, it's been off and on that I've glanced at it today, and I don't know the latest details and particulars. But that one recording kind of indicated that, yeah, they were aware that they were there and wanted to make certain that they saw. It was like a letter and regional jet was the letters that they had asked about, and the helicopter responded, "Yeah, we're going to pass behind them."
From uh from what I gathered, of course it's all still kind of fluid, but from what I gathered, um that recording, it wasn't clear which plane the helicopter pilot actually saw. So he
Well,
he he
apparently it's
agreed that he saw a plane, but he may not have seen the plane that he was supposed to see.
well, it's a time of evening. It was 9 o'clock in the evening, and apparently there's a lot of traffic into Reagan at about that time of the evening, as there are in many airports. And you know, so
Well,
you could.
they indicated that the helicopter pilots were using night vision. And so my only experience with night vision, and this is humor mixed in with a very sad situation, I recognize that. I'm at Fort Polk, Louisiana, and we have starlight scopes on our weapons. We have put a sunscreen on them and zeroed them in. There's 6 power strobes, and we're there on the firing line at about midnight, very dark. But looking through the starlight scope of 6 power, um, your silhouettes on my screen are smaller than what they silhouettes appeared to me to be downrange. And we had 6 rounds to knock down 2 targets. So ready on the left, ready on the right, commence firing. So bam, bam, my 2 targets are down. And I'm just starting to think, what am I going to do? And I didn't get to finish the thought, which would have been with the other 4 rounds. Then these are tracer rounds, and somebody downrange fired across the range because he saw a target up downrange. So it was like somebody took a railroad flare and jammed it in front of my face as it went across the starlight scope of the tracer round. And so I'm just starting to say, I know what I'm going to do with the other 4 rounds.
Send them back.
I can finish that thought. The entire screen is going with tracer rounds. You couldn't see anything except glare. That many tracer rounds. So if the guy was operating with night vision scope in a helicopter with other objects flying around, again, it wasn't my experience, but there may have been some overwhelming input to his field of vision.
Well, they'll never get to ask him.
No, that's for sure.
Okay, what did I miss?
We're talking about the collision over Ronald Reagan Airport in Washington, D.C. that killed
Overnight.
last night, that killed 60 people plus 60 civilians plus 4 military, where basically an American airline commercial flight got in the same location as a Nighthawk helicopter. And, when 2 objects try to occupy the same space, there's
You can't commingle the metal.
yeah, well, it's called the Fermi principle. You can't have two objects in the same spot at the same time.
It would have been, I think it was 67 people total.
Yeah.
3 military, 4 from the crew of the airliner, and 60 from civilians. So a lot of people.
Apparently a lot of them were involved in some Olympic skating team somehow or another. There were skaters and trainers and coaches and so forth and so on.
All coming from Wichita, Kansas, which kind of surprised me. I hadn't thought about Wichita, Kansas being a big figure skating capital of the world.
Well, who knows? I mean,
yeah,
that might have been a stop.
It was a regional carrier, so it was one of the small. It wasn't a full size.
Well, it was one of those regional carriers for American Airlines.
Yeah.
Basically, all the big airlines, Delta, American, and so forth and so on, all have these little regional guys that are.
And it it makes the same trip. I think they said twice a day. It goes back and forth twice a day, and the pilots are apparently very familiar with the procedures and everything. So it just
and they have definite lanes that they follow. I'd have to blame this on the kid out of Fort Belvoir.
Yeah. I grew up in Kansas City and I still have relatives there. And so we have had occasion to fly back because of an emergency of some sort or another or short notice. Most of the time we just drive. But for us to get a flight from either Dayton or Cincinnati to Kansas City, we go through Washington, D.C. So I'm thinking that it's kind of an out of the way path, but this would be consistent with Wichita also.
Yeah.
One of the odder things about Wichita and Kansas City, in a lot of places, the sidewalks go under the roads. They have underpasses for people.
Yeah.
Hadn't seen that anywhere else.
Well, in the case of Wichita, you're mistaking the fact that they roll up the sidewalks about 9 p.m. versus them being
Cincinnati
underground
too.
passages. Downtown Kansas City's about that. I was speaking to someone at Middletown Works when I first started, and he said, "Oh yeah, I was in downtown Kansas City about 9 o'clock." He said, "If you fired off a cannon, you wouldn't know not only not hit anyone." He said, "No one would hear it." There's nothing down there.
Yeah, I've lived in a few places that were like that, that just everything stops about 9:30, 10 o'clock, and you don't hear cars, you don't hear all you hear is birds maybe, or
Mating? Okay.
maybe you might hear wildlife out there, but I've lived in a few places like that. It's kind of interesting coming from, somewhere that used to have restaurants that were open 24 hours a day, and you just go out and you want food, you just go and get food.
Well, again, without continuing to focus on Kansas City, it's a commercial area. There are businesses, business offices, and that type of activity. But after 9 o'clock, there aren't restaurants and there aren't any bars or public accommodations down there. You're either there for a conference during the day at the convention center, or you're there to work. But after about 9 o'clock, there's no entertainment or reason to be on the street.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Well, at this point, everything's over except the shouting there in Washington and the finger pointing.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that started last night.
Oh
They,
yeah, I know. But
whose fault is this? Just go and take care of what you need to take care of. Who cares? Who cares whose fault it is?
it's done and over.
Yeah. Go and try to save the people if you can, which
Apparently
doesn't sound like they were overly successful about that, but
well, apparently both vehicles ended up in the Potomac.
and
And
freezing cold water with ice flows and other
yeah,
stuff, and then it just
so,
made it
so
really
even
hard.
if there were survivors, um, they didn't last very long once they were in the Potomac. So,
Well,
Well,
and there were only
guys,
so many boats out on
yeah.
able to go out to to aid in the rescue because of the ice flows and everything.
Do you recall about 25 years ago, there was a plane that didn't successfully de-ice and attempted to take off from National and ended up in the Potomac because it couldn't.
Yeah, it hit a bridge. It hit a bridge.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that
It,
wasn't 45 years ago, I don't think. I think that was more recent than that. That might have been 25 years ago.
well, that's what I was saying. I knew it was longer than 2 decades ago. There's a particular video where helicopters come down and they have a guy on the skids and he's gotten the woman by the hand and they're dragging her over to uh, the riverbank. And the perspective is from the riverbank. And there's ice and crap, and you can see the debris in the back. And just as they're maybe 8 feet or so from the bank, she loses all the strength and goes into the water. And you can see the look on her face as she goes underwater. And she is essentially dead. There's a guy on the riverbank, strips off his coat and jumps in the water and reaches underwater and pulls her back from death's door. It's just an emotional thing. I'm amazed every time I see it or think about it. There's 20 people on the shore, and he's the only one who whipped off his coat and jumped in the ice water. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, it's a tragedy, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And they'll be finger pointing forever. And I guess the good news is it'll keep a bunch of lawyers employed forever and ever. If that's good or bad, but all
Yeah,
those people are dead. It's simple as that.
Yeah.
I mean, they're dead.
they they were talking a bit about the that plane that hit the bridge and because of de-icing and or not de-icing, um, and that was one of the main things that changed procedures at that airport, that planes have to de-ice now and they have to do other things. And this is going to be another one of those defining things where they're going to have to change procedures when it
Oh, yeah.
comes to
They didn't happen to mention when that was, did they?
it. They did, but I don't remember. And you're right, it was 20, 25 years ago.
it was
It's
in the
been a while.
90s, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't remember when he said that was, when the reporter said that was. Um, but it was a
But
while ago.
that was a single plane incident,
Yes, it was.
and I
That was
think the plane may have taken out a few people on the ground, but there wasn't a second vehicle involved. So
No, it was a different situation than a mid-air collision. But
DC plane crash recalls similar event in 1982.
so maybe you're closer than I am.
yeah,
1982 would have been 43 years ago, 42 years ago.
I is that the one that you're talking about?
Yeah.
Was there one more recent than that?
No,
No,
this
I don't
is
think so.
13th of January, 1982. Stalled and crashed shortly after takeoff due to lack of de-icing and pilot error, Potomac River.
Okay. Well, It was one of the planes. It was one of the defining moments that changed how everything worked though. So this is going to be another one of those moments that changes how everything works.
Yeah.
And probably not just at that airport, probably all kinds of places.
Well, I've spent plenty of time sitting on the tarmac, actually there at CVG in northern Kentucky, getting de-iced before they take off.
Well, not disasters don't always get corrected. Uh, you may recall the Forrestal disaster during the Vietnam War. John McCain was a pilot aboard, and they had Zuni missiles that were supposed to have a safety pin and a tag on them removed before flight. And the Zuni missiles were notorious if they got a power surge when the power was shifted from ship power to aircraft power. And this power surge would launch the damn Zuni missiles. And that's what happened at the Forrestal disaster. A Zuni missile goes screaming across the deck and explodes in the cluster of fully fueled aircraft ready to take off. John McCain's was one of the aircraft that was above this fireball. And to compound matters, the bombs that they had, the 1,000-pound bombs, were World War II vintage and had no internal protection from thermal activation. And the fire chief and deckhands scooted over there trying to put water on the bomb to keep it from going off. And they failed. It blew a hole in the deck, and all the aviation fuel ran down 6 decks into the carrier. They were able to take off all the aircraft and fly to the Oriskany, which was relatively close. 11 years later, they were still doing the same thing with the Zuni missiles in the same manner on the same ships. A friend of mine from high school was an aviation mechanic and said, oh yeah, we had to watch out for that all the time because the safety pins and removed before flight safety pins and tags would blow off if there was a high wind and fall out. 11 years of the same disaster. This, I hate to get on a high horse, but that's not confined to the military. 3 Mile Island disaster occurred because a valve failed. It hadn't failed once before, or twice before, or 3 times, or 4 times. It had failed 6 times before. It was the wrong type valve. Now, I don't know the particulars, whether it was rising stem gate valve or some sort of other valve. Where all they did was they kept replacing it and replacing it and replacing it and never going back and analyzing why this failure occurred. So I myself was involved in a situation where I was asked to go down and look at an accident that had occurred in the hot strip mill area of Middletown Works. And the pipe fitter said, well, yeah, I was changing this valve that had been tacoed, and there was a big burst of flame came up from when I had, unbolted the valve, the tacoed valve. So it's like, Taco Bell, what are you talking about? Because, oh, you know, when you know what a taco looks like. I said, well, yeah. He said, yeah, the valve's tacoed. Well, it was a butterfly control valve to control flow. And there had been an explosion in the gas piping that had folded that valve over and tacoed it around the shaft. So I started investigating. This had occurred so frequently, they had a column on the spreadsheet for tacoed valves. And what was going on, the crux of it was the individual fuel nozzles going into the furnace. There were like 178 of them. Well, nobody wanted to go around and change and close 178 valves. And they were like in banks of 5. And nobody wanted to go around and close off like 80 valves. Well, it turned out that eventually people left all of the valves open and closed the 30-inch fuel main. And everything was left open to the air. So the air would migrate back up into the fuel lines and mix with the combustion gases. And when they started to fire up the furnace, they'd throw a road flare in there as the source of ignition. And when the gas got there, if there was an explosive mixture in the gas piping, it would blow backwards through the fuel system and take these butterfly control valves and tackle them. And I was stunned that this had been going on since the plant was new. And that would have been late 68, 69. So it's like, no, you come up here where the valve is, and it's fine to shut it off there, but you introduce nitrogen or steam or something, and you blow all the combustible gases into the furnace and let them dissipate. And I thought it was an obvious thing that nobody would continue to let these explosions occur so often that they were actually a column in the repair procedures. But people do and fail to do really, really stupid things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about happy stuff now.
Yeah.
Okay. So what have you been doing this week, Leroy? Oh, it's done? It's working?
No.
Okay. That's fairly definitive.
So I was able to 3D print a couple of those pieces that you found, Steve.
Cool.
Actually, there's 4 of them. They do not print well. I don't know if it's I don't know if it's the design or if it's something else, but they did not print well.
Now, this is support for the batteries.
Yes. So they
I
are
thought that
the
was an adapter between Legos and another.
yes. The techniques and the Legos
Okay.
and I mean, as far as the size of it, it printed correctly for size. It just did not print well. There's various parts that it started to separate and whatever. I'm not sure if it's the printer because it's or if it's the design, and you can see some of the well, you probably can't. It's
It's
dark.
just not a good print.
It's just not a good print. Some of these holes are they're just not right. Um, some of the connecting spiky things that are supposed to connect did not print or broke off almost as soon as I plugged something into them. So it's just not a great. And then the other problem I ran into was the battery. I need to print something or find something where the gap is because the battery tends to shift around and
Oh,
it'll
okay.
so if it starts and it shifts, it rolls off to one side where the heavy side is or maybe where the light side is. It it won't go straight basically. Um I'm not sure if that's because the battery is shifting around or if it's because the way these motors work, you have to start one and then start the second because it's on, you know, I2C bus. So you start one, start the second one right up. So one should be moving just a tad bit more than the other. So uh, I'm not sure if that's the problem or if it's the fact that it moves, but you can see just me holding it like this, you can see that battery moving back and forth. And then when and if it falls down into the well, it's stuck like that. It won't move again. So
More zip ties.
more zip ties.
Yeah, right.
Velcro or rubber bands.
Rubber
Or
bands
duct
broke.
tape. Hey,
Oh,
don't
Duct tape
forget
might
duct
work.
tape.
Velcro might work.
Lego
Was
stickers.
just I was thinking about just getting something to jam in there in those two holes, but Legos are just the Lego pieces I've got are just a tad too big.
well, we're in person next week, and I have uh, adhesive Velcro. I will bring you a chunk of,
Cool.
and it the adhesive part of it is really, really um, sticky and long lasting. The opening for the air filter into my ductwork in my house, I have a flap that is got female or male, and then the Velcro is on the ductwork itself. So if I peel the opening off, I can pull the filter out. Uh, I didn't want to take the ductwork apart to actually manufacture something like it should go. I put a bigger filter in there than the system was designed for because I wanted more area. And that's been on there 10 years, and I've pulled it on and off, I don't know how many times to change filters. And so it's a really nice adhesive.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I could definitely use it. So this is the first set of wheels that I printed for it with little knobby deals on it, and it turns out those little knobby deals uh, got stuck as it was rolling around.
Oh, oh, oh.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't a great idea to use little knobby things. And this was basically the same parts that the same 3D print pieces, but I put it in the in a flatter orientation, and the battery just kept sliding around. um, sliding back and forth, which was not good. So this is the current configuration, and these extra little Lego pieces actually are kind of like kickstands. So when it starts real fast, it'll throw itself back and it'll keep it from actually falling over, which does actually work like that. You can see where it's leaning against the table there. Um, yep. So it's went through
What do they call those little wheels on the back of a dragster?
like the little yeah. That's what those are, like little prop thingies. So it doesn't flip over the car.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wheelie bars.
Willy bars. But uh I was trying to print six of these pieces and only four of them turned out. And it's like and the four that turned out did not turn out good. They just turned out. They turned into, they're usable pieces, but not great. So, um, I think I can make it work if I could just get the battery more stable in there. But that's that little project thingy that they put. And that guy just showed up in the mail today.
Okay.
It's a little,
You turned it on yet?
yeah. It showed up about 15 minutes before the meeting started. Um, it's a ESP32 uh S3 Geek made by Waveshare and was supposed to come with three cables that would plug into the UART, the I2C, and the GPIO ports. But it did not come with the cables. So I am not overly thrilled about that.
So are those USB-C connectors?
No, those are those uh
JT something.
JTS something, yeah. They're little teeny tiny suckers. Um Spark Fun made them popular. Um I don't remember what Spark Fun calls them, but I don't particularly like them because they're very very small and the wires are small. Um I like the Grove connectors better, but that was cheap. It was like $7 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And
JST.
JST, uh yes.
Yeah, it's like 0.75 millimeter pin spacing and 27 gauge pins. They're fragile.
Yeah, I I don't really understand why SparkFun wanted to go that small with them, but SparkFun is what made them popular. And then Adafruit started putting them on their boards after SparkFun did, and now a lot of places that are trying to conserve space or whatever are using them because that's one thing they do is conserve space.
A little tiny one on there somewhere, right
Yeah.
next to
Oh,
that switch.
yeah.
Okay. Yep. I see
Yep.
it.
Okay.
That's been my fun for the thing.
So are the cables just back ordered or are they
They
MIA?
they just forgot to send them, and they're this thing came from China. I'm never going to see those cables. I'm just going to have to order cables if I want to do that.
Yeah, leave them a review. Ask them. They'll send you the cables.
Yeah, I'm going to ask them to send the cables, but
I follow a lawyer online, and one of his clients ordered things from AliExpress or one of those, and he ordered a drill and received a picture of the drill of the actual thing.
Okay.
So I'm thinking that you may have better luck with the cables than this guy has had with the drill.
with the drill. Well, there was one listing that I saw. They had the cables pictured, but they didn't. It actually just said you will only receive the board. So
Yeah,
I went back to make sure I did not order the
that one.
that one, and no, it says one board and one cable, which I'm going, well, there's three cables. So do they mean one cable set or do they mean one cable? And I'm not even I will definitely say, "Hey, where's my cable at?" But I'm not holding my breath about getting them. So, um it it's just it, this board normally goes for like 15-20 bucks. So to find it for $7, I was kind of expecting to have some issue, half expecting to have some issue. But yeah. I don't know if everybody knows Barry showed up and we forgot to say hi to Barry. Hi Barry.
Hey,
Hi,
Barry.
Barry.
He's
Hi,
got
peoples.
had his microphone turned off there.
He does.
I almost went to the meeting tonight and realized, oh, wait, this ain't the first Thursday of the month.
Well,
Well, you would have been the happiest guy in the room.
Yeah, I'd have probably ended up eating out somewhere.
at least you realized it.
Never too late.
What is this YouTube video,
It's
Mr. Barry?
it's a video from CES week before last
Oh, okay.
about robots. Evidently, most of the CES had robots this year.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Am I supposed to be seeing something?
Are you supposed to be? No.
It's in the
Okay.
share
It's in the chat.
Okay.
But
or
All right.
chat, right? Yeah.
I YouTube has gotten weirder and weirder about resharing videos. So,
But I thought everybody might find it interesting. I am extremely intrigued by the Chinese bow staff wielding army.
the uh the Unitree Go 2 robot, that one kind of intrigues me. But I don't know if I trust a robot from China. It might just spy on us.
Oh, you can be assured of that.
You know,
That's like the new AI or whatever, it's kind of funny. Is like evidently half its API calls are calling from Chat GPT, but then all the data's going to China.
Mm-hmm. Well, that go-to robot is its base model starts at $1,600, something that is extremely affordable. So they definitely want to get it in the hands of people to spy on them. Probably.
Yeah. I was gonna say in Boston Dynamics, their little one robot's not too horribly expensive now compared to before. It's like around 4 or 5 thousand, isn't it?
I thought it was still closer to the 10 or 15, but I mean, it's way more expensive than,
Well, yeah, then what I'd spend on one. I'm just
yeah.
if you had an applicational use for development, it's actually 4 or 5 grand's not horrible for
Yeah,
what all it's capable of doing.
if if I were a school or something like that, then Boston Dynamics for sure.
Yeah.
But
I don't
I
know. You're apparently not familiar with school budgets there, Leroy. I gotta tell you.
I hate to think that someone from China would be spying on me and I would be responsible for them being bored to death.
what does that robot do? He
No,
puts groceries on it and it
what am
climbs
I doing?
upstairs.
I'm not doing anything. The poor guy's having to spy on me, falling asleep.
Oh, my robot, what I want is a robot that will climb the stairs and carry the groceries up. That's all I care about. What does that
Hang a
robot do? It climbs stairs every Friday. It climbs stairs and carries groceries. It does absolutely nothing else.
There's a couple out there that do that.
Yeah. Yeah. But I I realize that there's probably not a huge budget in the robotics department, but I would much rather have an American robot than a Chinese robot, even if I had to blow the budget to do it. Because you could actually keep that robot for many, many years and it would pay for itself over time. So that's just me thinking though. I don't know. Um, Did were you able to go to the show, Barry, or did you just find this on?
Oh no, somebody at work sent me that link the day it aired or whatever, and I meant to make the meeting last week and forgot about it. So I'm like, oh hey, hop on and share it.
Okay.
If you guys get a chance to watch it, I figured you guys would find it interesting.
An AI robot with a lamp that can walk. That looks interesting. I wonder if it could carry groceries upstairs. Cool.
From my perspective, Art just tapped on his lawn. Yeah.
Yeah, art 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 is partially invisible. His headphones are
Yeah. Transparent.
transparent.
I don't know if that's because they're dark or what the problem is there, but
Sometimes when he opens his mouth up, he's
Yeah.
his mouth is invisible too.
Yep.
hmm.
You got some weird special effects going on in there, Art.
Yeah, well, this is the latest version of Zoom, and it's the first one which I could reliably get uh, a background.
Yeah.
In spite of the fact I do have a green screen in this office. So I don't know if the tone's wrong or whatever the deal is, but
These connectors are called quicks. QWIIC.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what SparkFun is calling them.
Okay.
So,
Leroy, I didn't quite catch that because the object was covering your lips. Could you say those letters again? No, no, no. I'm serious. Please say the letters again.
quick Q. Let me spell it right. QWIIC.
Thank you.
Like the quick
Like
brown
quick.
fox.
Yeah.
I'm sure that those stand for that stands for something. But
probably.
but yeah, now that I found what SparkFun wants to call it, I don't like them, but starting to see a lot more of them
Now,
anymore.
what's on the other end of the cable?
Um, so you can buy from SparkFun, you can buy well, an Adafruit and now most of the Chinese, you can buy other sensors that also have the same connector on them. So you get a cable that's got both ends the same,
Okay.
or or Adafruit makes a set of quick connectors to um, other standards, like the Grove connectors, so you can get quick to Grove. But usually, Grove is 5 volts and quick is 3 volts. So usually you have to go through some sort of converter to get the voltages right, because you plug a 5 volt sensor into that and it might blow that up.
How many
Um,
lines is it?
so that's the other thing about quick. You can get 3 line or 4 line connectors. Um, and the 3 line can be GPIO or serial. Uh, uh, TTL level serial connector. And the 4 connector is, I think it is always I2C.
Okay.
So um, the Grove connectors are all 4 pin and they can be anything. They could be GPIO, they could be uh, serial, they could be uh, I2C. Grove connectors, all of them have power on them. They all have a positive pin and a negative pin, so you can power your devices off of them. Where quick, especially the 3 connector cables, they don't really have power on them. They've got a ground pin usually, but not a power pin.
So they're
So
data only.
yeah. Yeah. So you've got to power your external sensor by something else. Um, but I think the reason why are becoming so popular is because they're small, because you can cram them into a device that is tiny. I mean, you know, um, I don't, I've got a little quick device that's about yay big, and it's got an I2C connector on it. I mean, it works just fine. I don't like it because of the cable, but but it works the way it's supposed to work, and it's tiny. Where the Grove connector, you know, Grove connectors are that does not have the Grove connector on it. Grove connectors are that doesn't have the Grove connector on it. Well, you've seen them. They're bigger. They're they're a Grove connect. I've got a quick sensor that's about yay big, and a Grove connector itself is about that big. So, um, I guess I can kind of see why. Oh, duh! It does have a. There it is. That's the Grove connector,
Okay.
and that's the Grove connector cable. I just was like, wait, there's a cable plugged into that.
So those are what, like 24 gauge wire?
Yeah, something like that. I wish I had uh one of the quick wires somewhere that I could show you it. I mean, they're teeny tiny suckers. I every time I go to plug one in, I feel like I'm going to break the stupid thing. So, um, I've got a few things that use them. I don't particularly like them, but I've got a few things that use them. Um, Mostly I bought this because it was cheap. It's got a screen in it with $7. That's cheap, and
Looking
it's
at this Grove system on the other screen,
mhm.
it looks like it's a semi-permanent installation that you would have between modules on a fixed base. It's not something you would normally plug and unplug.
Um,
That's the impression I get anyway.
See, I think Grove makes it way easier to unplug and plug. Quick, quick because of how small everything is. That's the one I don't want to unplug and plug in all the time. I would much rather leave it alone. Um, I there's another connector out there that DF Robot came up with that's even bigger than the Grove connector. Um, but I don't think it has taken off anywhere near as popular as any of the other. I've got some sensors that use it, and I've got some cables that go from its connector to Grove connector. So, but basically, to answer your question about the cables, you can get cables that go out to DuPont connectors. They go out to their own connector. They You can get a cable that will do pretty much anything. The
Okay.
biggest the biggest problem, like I said, The two systems aren't really compatible with each other than the fact that, cable wise, they're not compatible at all. But one system uses 3 volts and one system uses 5 volts. So, you know, not really compatible there, but you can make it work because you can run it through a uh changer, a voltage changer. This little sucker right here, that's a little C6, ESP32 C6. It's got a grow connector on it. It's a little sucker. Um, that camera's got a Grove connector on it. So I could just plug and unplug as needed and change my program as needed. My wife, all these microcontrollers I've got, my wife is like, "Why do you want so many microcontrollers?" I like
because
looking at
they
them.
are.
Because I like looking at them. There's another, that's a Lily Yo board, and that's a quick connector right there in the center.
Okay. Well, I just taken this card reader apart and looked at the connections on the inside of that. I was thinking I would see more of those.
This is it's pretty much something that you're going to see in the microcontroller world.
Okay.
Um, in the industrial world, they use stuff a little bit different. This is an old board with a bunch of quick connectors on it, or Grove connectors. Sorry.
What do you call this type of block?
Uh, that
How many pins is it?
looks like
Uh,
8.
their offset art, there are 4 pins on one side and 5 on the other. This is like for a USB connection, a USB 2. So you can't plug it in wrong.
Yeah. Um, the pin spacing is the same as about DuPont cable pin spacing too, right?
And I see it's
An
tenths of
IC.
an inch.
Yeah.
I don't have a ruler up here that has that fine of graduations on it. This is like my sister sent me a picture of stationery that she was measuring with a yardstick. It's like, no, I need a few more gradations on there.
Well, surely you could figure it out from a yardstick. Come on.
Yeah, I can tell it's between 1 inch and a half an inch.
Precision. Why would you need that?
I built her a stationery box because she still corresponds on fine quality paper. And I had a stack of fine quality paper letterhead that I had cut down and put into her stationery box. She has run out after 10 years and would like some more paper for her stationery box. And I was going to have some cut for her at the local printers. But I wanted to make certain it would fit in the box and not have all sorts of slop around it in the envelopes. Hell, I don't remember what I gave her 10 years ago. I didn't keep any of the drawings. I just made it and cut it. So I asked her for a photograph. And so, yeah, she gave me a photograph with it, with a measuring tape. Now, how fine can you cut the paper with something like that?
There are standard sizes for stationery paper.
Yeah, but this was nothing about this was standard. It was stuff that
Ah,
I threw together in the garage.
I worked at a printing company a long, long, long time ago, and we printed the official stationery for a bunch of different companies, like the National Hockey League and a bunch of. Anyway, I'd walk through there and grab 2 or 3 sheets of all sorts of stuff. And later on, I was looking for work, and I got recommendations from all over the place. Well, this is not standard 1/8 inch spacing on this. Um, it is something smaller, Yep, it's 1/10 of an inch. The
1/10 of an
five
inch.
inside, it should be half an inch center to center for all
Yeah.
5 pins.
Yep.
What is that connector called though? And I mean, it's a USB connector, but
Well, the other end is USB. That end is a Molex.
Molex.
This cable, I unplugged it, and both ends are the same, so I could reverse it. You are correct. Center to center on 5 pins is 3/8 of an inch.
Yeah,
Well,
should be
it's
4/8 of an inch,
4/10 of an inch. Yeah.
but he's measuring 5 pins.
Well, no, but if you measure end to end in a string of five
Right,
pins, you got 4 spaces. So
right.
Yeah, overall, the plastic block that contains the pins and holes is 1/2 inch.
yeah, that figures.
Yeah, but this cable is identical on both ends.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't mess it up too badly.
No, uh,
There
and
was a short while there, though, when they used the same connector for serial and
Yeah.
universal serial.
Yep. Well, there were back in the early days, there were the motherboards that didn't have the key pin. You
Hmm.
just had to guess that you were putting it in there right. The key pin made everything better. It was usually easy enough to figure out that you'd mess that up if your board wouldn't boot. You usually had the USB connector backwards or the wrong way. So you were trying to put power on the ground or something. We had a customer uh that came in with an intermittent problem that the USB or that the computer absolutely refused to turn on, and it took a while to figure out what was going on. But one of the USB connectors on the back of the machine was broken, and if you leaned it one direction, the positive and the negative wires would short together and prevent it from coming on. So we ended up going in with some wire cutters and just cutting
Removed.
the cutting the pins out and put silicone in it so that he couldn't plug anything into it. But it took us forever to figure out what was going on because sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't.
Yeah,
Sometimes
those
it would
intermittent
work.
failures are a pain.
My
Yeah.
favorite on that one was when I worked at PC Upgrades. We built a computer for a woman and she took it home and came back. Didn't work. We plugged it into the workstation there and everything came up. It works fine. She took it home, called, it's not working. Brought it back, plugged it in, comes up beautifully. The IEC cable that we never unwrapped or even took out of its bag was missing one side.
Oh, nice.
So that was fun. That was like 4 trips on her part.
I thought you were going to tell me she'd plugged it into a switched outlet.
No, 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 no. She did everything right. It just failed to power on.
I did actually have a guy who plugged it into a switched outlet and he swore up and down that that was not the problem. And I was like, okay, how am I going to prove that you're causing this problem? This is your problem. So I went out to his house and we powered everything up and we got it all ready. And I said, now, what do you usually do when you come into this room? He said, I flip that switch. Okay, do that. Went out, stopped working. I was like, plug it into a different outlet, dude.
Well, the funniest story I ever heard were two brothers who were going to be polishing rocks in a tumbler. And they went down and they put it in the guy's basement and they plugged it in and they said, "Oh, well, we'll come back in a couple of days and see how that looks." And they came back in a couple of days. They said, "Wow, it's not doing anything. Let's come back in a week." So they come back in a week and looked at it and said, "Man, it's not doing anything. Let's try it for a higher grit." Well, after 6 months, they figure out they've been plugging it into the outlet that was switched for the fluorescent lights. So whenever they went downstairs, they turn on the lights and go down. It's running, it's going. As soon as they went upstairs and turned the lights off, it stopped. So it had been tumbling for a period of maybe 20 seconds every time they checked it.
Yeah. I I had a couple of those weird problems like what Steve was saying, that it worked just fine at the shop, but when the customers took it home, they could not get it to work, and I ended up making house calls even though I didn't really want to make house calls.
Mhm.
All right, let's see what you're doing. I did actually tell one guy he kept saying that he could see a picture on his monitor for about a half a second and then everything just stopped. And I'm like, okay, your monitor might be bad, right? It wasn't a monitor. He was plugging it into like an old TV set. And I'm like,
You could do
okay,
it with Pong. Why not with a computer?
well, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, the TV does actually have a VGA connector on it. but it must be a so low resolution that by the time the machine boots, it's at a higher resolution than what the TV could display.
Yeah, the TV would have been 640 by 480 probably,
Yeah.
and that would have been before EDID was a thing.
I just uh, I had never seen that before. I was just kind of like, you need to get a monitor, dude. This
Just
this
upgrade.
this TV just ain't working for you. But yeah, well, we had a bunch of weird problems like that. Just
I have had a lot of people ask me to just stand there until they finished a job. The computer's broken. I show up, seems to be working. Just stay.
yeah, the
Well,
you're the good
and,
luck charm.
yeah, as you folks know, I did monitoring for pollution inside the workplace. And invariably, I would go somewhere and they said, well, you should have been here yesterday. And when I say I was, well, maybe the day before, no matter what day I showed up on, it was wrong.
Yeah, I I, I just remember there were so many customers who we had that really didn't. They knew they needed computers, but they did not understand how computers worked, and even getting them to turn it on. Like I had one lady who swore up and down her computer did not work. She had the power strip turned off.
One of the ones
That
that always
that
got to me was somebody's having a problem. Okay, what happened? Well, I tried to do X. Something popped up on the screen. I clicked OK and it wouldn't work. Okay, what did the thing that popped up on the screen say? I don't know.
No, no.
Okay, we'll try it again. And you hear them click. Did something come up on the screen? Yeah. What did it say? I don't know. Okay, this time, don't just click OK, read it. It's giving you valuable information.
it's telling you something.
To avoid seeing this message, always shut down your machine properly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted your system didn't fail all the time, Microsoft. What version of the operating system was that? It's like
95. And I think
95.
98.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure 98 did it.
To avoid seeing this message, always shut down your machine properly.
I uh I had I had a machine that came with Windows ME on it. And
Oh God.
I loved Windows ME. I am the only person that I know of that actually liked it. But it did weird stuff like that too. It would, tell you weird message to avoid seeing this, do this. And I'm like, okay. The thing with ME was if you had it installed correctly, it ran beautiful. It was just getting it to install correctly. That was the problem. It 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 did not like installing on certain things.
Now, is that
Like
one of the versions
computers.
you had like 50 3.5 inch disc?
No, it was on it was on a CD. Um,
Really? My
That's,
Oh yeah.
recollection was it was a stack of
yeah,
No,
5 1/4.
95 was on 18, I think,
yeah.
floppies. 98 was 22, and I don't think ME was ever offered in floppies. They
I
were
don't.
No.
trying to get away from that at that point. And it was Windows Media Edition is what ME stood for. If you didn't have a CD-ROM, you shouldn't have been running a Media Edition anything.
The only thing that I know about, you could create a floppy from ME that was like DOS 8, something like
Yep,
that. And DOS 8 had a lot of extra tools in it to actually do stuff, so I use that disk all the time. But um I am fairly sure that I had a Windows ME CD and a Windows ME CD key, but it was getting Windows ME to install correctly. That was the problem. If it hung up on a driver somewhere, you were pretty much done. It pretty much wasn't going to work.
came across a fun thing at work today. It's a CD with software in tar format for SGI, um, SCO Unix, Minix, a couple other things that lets you run Windows on Unix. And it comes with Windows 3.1.1 and DOS 6.2.2. So
Cool.
if anybody needs copies of that software, let me know. You had to compile your environment from source though.
Hmm.
So this is just something that was laying around.
Oh yeah. There's lots of neat stuff laying around at Siemens. Like this thing. This is the 1980 or 94 Silicon Graphics price book. If you ever wondered what a video card for anything cost, it's in here. And if you have a Power Onyx MIPS system that needs a CPU board, I can tell you that's $22,000. This thing
Wow.
is what, 400 pages long?
Have you found the cheapest thing in there and the most expensive thing in there?
Oh, probably a mouse mat would be the cheapest thing.
Okay.
I can't tell how long it is because it's divided into a bunch of sections that are each 30 pages long, but many pages.
well, probably if I did need a disk, as you described earlier, by the time I needed it, I wouldn't be able to find it.
I I've got pretty good organization on disks and disk images and stuff. If anybody ever needs Windows 3, let me know. I've got it built for VMware. I've got it built for um oh shoot, the Oracle one. Um I
Open
somewhere I've
box.
got huh? Yeah, VirtualBox. Somewhere I've got it built for um QEMU. I liked Windows 3.1.1. It was the last Windows I actually understood.
I you can download Windows 1.0.
Mhm.
It's very interesting. It's
In all of
nothing
its
to
gray,
do what?
in all of its grayness.
Yeah, it's not anything like what you expect Windows to be. But I played around with that for a little while just because history.
Hmm.
The Mega Workbench ran circles around it, right?
Yeah. Oh, the Amiga Workbench was miles ahead. Um, I don't really remember playing around with Windows 3 or 3.1 much. I think when I actually finally got to a to a machine that could run Windows, that was running Windows 95. But
I worked at a company in Newtown that had a bunch of engineers on Windows 3.1.1 boxes doing not AutoCAD. It was called Anvil 2000, old CAD program. Pretty nice, actually. You could install it off of 2 floppy disks. But I built a network there on Windows 3.1.1, and we used the little messenger thing. I had a boot floppy that I could go to anybody's computer to and do a backup across the network to the tape drive on my machine. It was neat. It was fun. It worked surprisingly well
yeah,
till you started really messing with it.
yeah, Windows 3.1.1, that was for work groups, right? That
Hmm.
was that was the first one that actually supported networking
Yep.
or networking the way we kind of think of networking.
Yeah. Bunch of NE 2000 coax connected network cards
Yeah,
with balance on the end of each cable and
yeah.
just hoping everything sticks together.
And I remember, I know I had a machine that had Windows 95. I know I
Hmm.
had a machine that had 98 SE. I skipped right over top of 98 and went right with SE. And then I had the machine that had ME on it. And like I said, I was the only one that liked ME. Nobody else liked it.
Well, I'll add my name to that list.
Um, well, I'm also a crazy person that thinks that if they would have not called Windows 8 Windows, it would have been a much better operating system. So if they would have just called it anything other than Windows, people would have liked it. It would have been different enough. Um, I remember now, I remember when we were playing around with Windows 8, and I was one of the very few crazy people that actually liked Windows 8. So maybe I just like the misfits out of the Windows lineup.
I'm trying to remember. It was a short-lived thing that we had a network that I put together in our office, and every machine had a card. And then we had a menu on there, and we were able to do some nice stuff. Uh, we had, I think, 8 or 9 machines on this little net, and you could push a button and it would back up your files to A to B, B to C, so on and so forth. And then we had, I think we had 10 printers on it. And you could say, I want this to be printed on. And so if you had forms or a different size paper or anything like that, you could do that easily also. But it was ripped out and replaced with um, a, a LAN when the IT folks got wind that I had it.
There
I mean,
was
you could do that stuff with Windows 3. Um, and that, again, that used the cheap NE 2000 cards with a T connector on the back of each card. They worked pretty well. at 1 megabit.
I'm thinking that that operated on batch files, and that I had written a little menu in DBase 3 Plus
Yeah,
with a screen and two columns with letter buttons on them. Gosh, that's so long ago.
yeah. There would have been the NDIS drivers under DOS. Just got to work on your config.sys file and load everything into high memory.
I was never that sophisticated.
If you were doing stuff in DBase, you were.
I did write a nice program to keep track of several thousand photographs in DBase 3 Plus, where you could look up a photograph based on a person's name or address or a comment or anything like that. Uh, that worked pretty good. Still works. It still does run. We just don't have any need for it.
I remember DBase got bought by Foxbase, which got bought by Microsoft and was the foundation for, um,
Access.
yeah, Microsoft Access, and that later turned into Microsoft SQL Server. There's a couple other things in there, but those are the big steps.
Yeah, Access was a pain in the ass to write
Anything.
multi-valued fields in. You had to have a little separate database as an intermediate. So if Art wanted to put down his 6 houses, you could have Art in the 6 houses, but it required a database for each house and an intermediate between each house and you. So it was like, I that's the only example I can think of because I'm looking at your house behind you on the screen. And you didn't have any need to ever look at the multi-valued fields because they were in the set of intermediates. I didn't explain that very well. It was a stupid concept.
Ah,
Well, Microsoft Access was kind of a stupid concept. I know so many companies that had so much stuff done in Access that they could never convert into anything else. And it was all based on Internet Explorer. So they kept Internet Explorer 6 way, way, way after it was already dead.
Well, I've got a client that does medical records. Long and short of it is, and they use Access copiously. And I have looked into how could I switch them from Windows to Linux, because everything else they can, word processing, spreadsheets, all that stuff they can do in some sort of Linux tool, mostly LibreOffice, but I don't have a way of getting all of those access files. And this is one of these things where they essentially generate an access file for every client, of which they have thousands. And the stumbling block to switch them over is access.
Yep.
And, and if I tried to put them on another database, the learning curve alone would destroy the company.
Well, when I started doing consulting for the attorneys about 30 years ago, I wrote a little Access database to keep track of the activity I was doing, the case I was working on, the length of time that I was taking to do it, and how much they were going to pay me for doing that. And then it was all based on their client and then the individuals that uh, they were interacting with. Now, I'm still using it simply because I like to be able to go back and look at all of those records. And it works fine. Um, I have no reason to update something that's working well, except that the operating system is no longer supported. It supports the uh, Office 2003.
Oh,
So Art, what operating system do they have that is allowing them to continue to use that?
Windows 10.
Okay, because the machine I'm speaking to you on right now is a Windows 7 machine, simply because that allows me access to the Office 2003. Windows 10 machine will not support Office 2003.
But it'll support what uh, 13 or and
yeah,
they're
at least
using
2016.
I'm sorry.
It'll support at least up to Office 2016.
Well, they're using let's see, the Office they're using is Office 365.
And that supports Access.
Yep.
That surprises me. Wow.
No problem at all.
Wow.
But they're paying for that though.
How's that?
They're paying for Office 365.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's an annual
Yeah.
subscription.
So so maybe the free version of 365 doesn't support it and the paid version does.
This is a paid version, I can tell you that for sure. Because periodically what happens is this, I get a panic call, it stopped working. I said, well, did you pay the subscription? What's and there's been enough personnel change over the last few years that the person who paid it last year is no longer there.
It's not the same
So,
person.
so generally the solution to the problem is go pay the subscription.
So, hey, Mr. Vicente,
Hi,
How you doing?
what's going on?
great. Was in the museum today. The museum at the Cincinnati station, train station. My son is here from England.
Okay.
We spend all the day walking around. I'm tired, but it's okay. Fine.
He bring you any robots
No,
from
I
James
was
Bruton?
cleaning the basement, organizing stuff, and still working with the RISC-V microcontroller in assembler. I'm learning assembler a little bit. I'm still working on it. This is I have it here in this is the assembler thing. I am using an Arduino Nano to produce signals for my program in the RISC-V. Also, I am switching this is a by LED, two LEDs back to back to have different color depending on the polarity of the signal. And this is the data boost, so I know if I have zeros or ones or they are in high impedance. Just looking at the LEDs. But I just did this setup 2 days ago to continue. I changed my microcontroller for one with more legs to have more address lines, and I continue with my memory emulator for the vintage systems of the 70s and 80s. But I didn't have too much time to work on it lately. Today just arrived 2 more boards from China because I only had 1. Now I have 3.
Okay.
I also bought a camera from Amazon. A webcam. This one works on batteries. It's an outdoor camera. Supposedly it works on battery for 5 months. I'm planning to use this thing outside in a tree far from the house.
I've never heard of
Now
that brand, Remove, before.
remote before.
That looks like a real link.
Yeah, the plastic says Remove.
Remote, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
You
have to,
that was my joke with my wife. With my wife, I made the same joke.
yeah,
I'm with you, Steve. I thought that was the name of the product.
It's the Remove brand.
Yes. What kind of camera you got? Well, I got this one that says remove. I can't quite tell what it says when I look through the
I am waiting to charge the camera because was outside almost frozen, and I waiting for the battery to get the room temperature before start charging.
Mhm.
Just in case. And that's it. I also bought a solid state disk from SanDisk to make a backup. For some reason, this went full only with the disk is 1 terabyte and becomes full with a quarter of a terabyte. So I find out that the partition of the disk is too big, and I have too many small files, so they occupy minimum 1 megabyte each file. Doesn't matter if the file is 20K or whatever. So I changed the partition to 128 kbytes to make more slots of memory. And now was okay to save almost a terabyte of my files on it. And was a lot faster just to make the backup also. When you change the minimum slot or
Block size.
block size.
Yeah.
That's a word. And everything changed after that. So this is the this is the SanDisk 1 terabyte SSD.
How much?
I think it was like 80 bucks, I think. They have different prices depending on the speed, the writing speed. This is one megabyte per second, I think. I can check. Let me check in the Amazon orders. See. There it is. I can share
Mm-hmm.
the Amazon page. This is the speed. You know, I pay less than this. The price is changing. But you can have a cheaper one if you buy with a disk with less speed. Let me check. For example, this 4 terabytes. Just to have a comparison. Read speed. I have the other one. This is the Pro. The Pro model is a little bigger. The size is bigger, and the shape of the hole is different, and the read speed is twice. Write speed is also twice the speed.
What's
you
the
have to
purpose
pay,
of the hole?
I don't know, to carry it with a key holder. I don't know.
Yeah. Goes in a keychain.
Yeah,
Oh,
but it's a little
okay.
bit high. I don't know. You don't want to have your data hanging in your pocket. I don't know.
I have lost many USB drives from putting them in my pocket and pulling out money or whatever, and the USB drives
Supposedly,
fall out.
supposedly is very rugged for weather portable stream, ready
Well,
for life,
I just
whatever.
bought it hadn't arrived yet, but I bought an adapter to go from a SATA hard drive to external USB. Has anybody had experience with those?
Yeah. They work well.
This one requires a 12-volt external power source.
Okay. So that's for 3.5-inch drives.
Yeah, not the not the solid state drives, but for the
I also have this one is a 1 terabyte also.
yeah. I don't have the solid state drive in front of me. Oh, yeah.
It's
There we go.
USB-C.
I could operate with this one with the out the 12 volt, but if I'm going to do a drive like that, I would have to have the 12 volt.
Yep.
Now, Vincente, are you putting that information on a network so that you can look at it from any device you have?
No, I keep the format to be used with Windows or Mac or Linux or whatever. I keep the format, the more general format. You can use this with any machine. It has a USB-C port.
Okay. I probably didn't make myself clear, but I have some 2-year battery life external cameras.
Okay.
And I was planning on putting the data on a hard drive associated with my home network so that I can look at the recording
Uh-huh.
on the hard drive from any device on the network.
Yeah.
That's the reason I was asking you.
Okay, I have no idea. Just starting to using cameras outside. This one, you use a SD card. It also has a free service for a year or recording 3 days in a website. You can check the last 3 days of recording. And I don't know if they have a way of having this connected to your network and save the video. Maybe it's possible to do. I don't know.
And what's the brand on that besides
This is
Remove?
Yes.
no. This is the brand. The
Heresy?
But I think that this is a generic camera because you can find it with different brands, almost doing the same thing. This camera costs. Let me share the Amazon orders. Mm. See, yes,
So $28. That's not bad.
yeah.
It almost reminds me of one of those Wise cameras or
Hmm.
yeah.
I wonder if it has a MJPEG URL on it.
Wireless. Motion detection.
Two-way audio for $28. Dang.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, post a link for that, please.
Supposedly you can set alarm when it sees people or an animal or a car or whatever. They have some kind of AI. You can connect it to Alexa. This is Leroy.
Ah, run away.
It has a built-in light.
Post the link for that, please.
The link. Let me copy. Mm. There it is.
Thank you.
They have local storage, but I don't know. They have the service of recording in the cloud. The
Is there a
first,
subscription for that?
yeah, but you have a free 3 months try. The subscription is around $3 by month.
There's one of those in the auction at Fast Track right now for in Amelia, but they showed a picture of the box, only the box, and the box is
Okay.
smashed, right?
Ooh.
And it's because it's the one with the solar panel. Oh,
Okay.
I kind of chuckled at that because like usually they at least show you the
Yeah.
picture of the stuff, but since the solar panel was in there, and I was like, the box looks like it's been mashed in about 2 inches. I was like, you know what? I bet that's
Yeah.
all busted to pieces.
Well, they have the solar panel as an option.
Yeah,
You can buy 18 bucks. This is the
but
option of the solar panel.
yeah, there was a combo there.
Yeah, the combo
Yeah,
has the
also.
panel at $10.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Scroll back up.
Uh,
Oh, weird. In the link you posted, I can get one camera for 32 for 58, or
uh-huh.
that camera and the CRS 300 or the with a
This is
Type C
the
solar
one
panel for 40. Yeah.
here.
Yeah, see, I'm only seeing it for 39. That is
Mm.
weird.
Different prices.
Different prices. I'm not
Yeah.
seeing it for I can
Okay,
get
this one.
I can get two of them for 80,
Really?
Okay.
one of them for 39,
Yeah, the
and I
price is bigger when you buy more.
and I don't see the solar panel option at all.
Okay. But
I
this is
Special Leroy
this is
pricing.
say,
Amazon Prime, maybe different.
I
You
say,
see?
are you not a Prime member there?
I am not a Prime member. That that
Yeah,
is
so that's the difference.
that
Okay.
is true. I am not a Prime member.
Yeah, so when you
Yeah,
get the bundle, the camera
yeah.
drops down to 2644 and the solar panel is 1255.
Okay.
Okay.
Different, really different.
Well, see, I think Amazon keeps wanting me to become a Prime member because they give everybody else all these deals. I don't get the
Huh?
deals.
We pay for it.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
do.
yeah. We already pay exactly.
Wow.
Uh,
I was given a 3 camera blank outdoor weatherproof wireless camera package about a year and a half ago for Christmas, and it's been sitting on the shelf. I just looked at the price and I was shocked.
What happened?
$183.
Really?
wow.
I put it on the shelf like it was a $2 knickknack.
You're going to
I,
start using that now, aren't you?
yeah, well, especially if I don't have to climb the ladder and change the battery every 6 months. If it's 2 years, I can handle that.
Yeah.
How embarrassing.
Wow. We probably all have stuff sitting on shelves that we should be doing something
Yeah.
else with. So, it's just about 7 o'clock, and I know dinner's coming. So,
What are we having tonight?
I am not sure because we really need to go grocery shopping. So, I don't know if I'm getting mac and cheese or if I'm
It's a surprise.
getting. I don't know. I don't know what I'm getting. I know it's probably not lasagna because I know we have to go grocery shopping, and it's probably not. It's probably not anything I really want to eat, but I got to eat.
I started chili simmering before I turned on the camera. So
Yeah, yeah. We may end up going out to eat because we pushed it. We pushed our groceries right to we usually get groceries either Thursday night or Friday afternoon. So we pushed it right to the edge. So
Okay,
yeah,
we're in person next week
we are we are at
at
Midpoint,
at Midpoint.
Westchester.
Okay.
And then the following week we will be in Mason.
Mason.
And
Okay.
everybody who can needs to come to Mason. Everybody who can should come to Midpoint too, but we all know what Midpoint looks like.
Yeah.
And they're done that.
Yeah. So I will definitely bring the little robot project thing next
Okay.
week, and we will play with that maybe.
This is a balancing robot.
No, it's not. No, you've missed too much.
I haven't missed it yet. I need to check the video of the meeting. Okay.
It is using the BL
The M5
BL
motors.
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
the BLDC
Ah.
motors, but
I'll be checking the video of this meeting, the start of the meeting,
all right.
to see.
So we'll see everybody next week, hopefully.
Good night.
Okay.
See
All right.
you.
Good
Bye.
night. Have a good week.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.